Draymond Green recently has been in the hot seat after his incident with Jusuf Nurkic. After seeing the replay like a million times, the NBA world collapsed onto him.
I love Draymond to death, but to be honest with you, there's no place for that in the game.
The average fan out there thinks, I gotta say it, I'm gonna be honest, thinks Draymond's a clown.
What are you doing? You're going to hurt somebody out there.
This was the fourth time in the past 14 months where it seemed like instead of being signed by Joe Lacob and the Golden State Warriors, that Draymond looked like he was signed by Dana White and the UFC. Anyway, while I wholeheartedly believe Draymond should get suspended for his recent actions, there's actually a huge problem behind this the NBA needs to solve if it truly wants to fix the Draymond Green problem. And I'm serious. Let's be honest here, an indefinite suspension isn't going to solve the issue. Sending Draymond to anger management isn't going to solve it either. And I'm about to get into all of this today. Okay, so I'm going to repeat. I definitely do believe Draymond Green deserves this suspension. But there's more the NBA needs to do about this. And here's what I mean. Off the top of my head, I can think of 5 times where the NBA has told Draymond Green that enough is enough, that he went over the top. The hit below the belt against LeBron James, the stomping off Sabonis, the Gobert headlock, the latest Nurkic situation, and of course, the Jordan Poole fiasco. These all warranted an ejection, a suspension, a fine, whatever the case may be. I ain't disagreeing with all that. But the truth is, these penalties are just a bandage, and they don't really solve the deeper issue at hand. And here's what I mean. Let's first look at the LeBron incident. In this case, while battling for position, LeBron initially swung his arm and knocked Draymond to the ground. Then, instead of going around him, he stepped over him, which is about as disrespectful as it gets. Draymond then took things to the next level and went below the belt, and thus got hit with a 1-game suspension. But come on, why didn't the league hand out any punishments to LeBron for walking over a man he just swung to the ground? That's really what instigated what eventually followed. Now, again, Draymond deserved a suspension there, but what I'm saying is the league needs to look at what instigated things and respond accordingly. But in this case, LeBron got away scot-free. Next, let's look at the stomping of Sabonis. Alright, so in a scramble for the rebound, Sabonis falls to the ground and immediately grabs Draymond's ankle, as you can see. Draymond then went over the top with what he did and deserved the punishment. But what about Sabonis? The man literally grabbed Draymond's ankle when Dre was just trying to run down the court. Is that a basketball play? The answer is no. I think we can all agree that if Sabonis didn't grab Draymond, which is what started all of this to begin with, nothing would have followed. But how did the league respond to Sabonis? By doing absolutely nothing. Sabonis was even asked about what exactly happened during the post-game interview, but he refused to address it directly because he knew he started the whole thing. Then with the Rudy Gobert incident, again, Draymond deserved to be suspended. But Gobert also grabbed Clay above the neck, and although Gobert didn't look like he was trying to hurt Clay, in the heat of the moment, Draymond saw what he saw and had to protect his teammate. And just like how there's a rule that players can't step on the court when something like this happens, shouldn't there be a rule that when something like this happens, that you can't put your hands on the other team's player? I mean, the truth of the matter is, if Rudy went to stop Jaden McDaniels instead of Clay, Draymond doesn't grab Rudy. Then, with the latest Jusuf Nurkic incident, Nurkic was playing a bit dirty and grabbing onto Draymond's jersey first. Now, Draymond went way over the top with what he did, but let's be real here. If Nurkic doesn't grab his jersey, Draymond doesn't swing his arm. Then last off, with the Jordan Poole incident. Draymond definitely deserved a harsher punishment in my opinion, but man, who says to a teammate, "You're an expensive backpack for 30? Apparently, that's what Jordan Poole said to Draymond. you're an expensive backpack for 30, meaning that he's dragging Steph Curry down, that he ain't worth his contract, that he's nothing but a burden for Steph Curry. This is a fourth-year player insulting a legend of the franchise. Dre and Poole were both wrong in this case. But anyway, again, while Draymond deserves the punishments handed out to him, the truth is, the league needs to do something about these initial small aggressions, these small, dirty plays that don't get called. There's like 100 cameras pointed at every area of the court and like 10 or 20 people working in the monitor rooms up above. So why leave these small things that referees can't see to the referees? A great solution is to have some extra referees behind the scenes in the room above where there's like 100 monitors and calling the calls that the floor refs can't see. And if something still gets missed, the coaching staff can report it to the guys in the monitor rooms and they can decide if it warrants a call. And there could be a delayed technical foul or something. Otherwise, the Draymond Green problem is going to continue. Players are going to cheap shot other players. The refs aren't going to see the initial hit, but when the retaliation happens, the victim becomes the perpetrator. Like, here's a prime example. So literally, a day after the Draymond incident, Isaiah Stewart got ejected for hitting Patrick Beverley out of nowhere with his elbow. Now, the ejection was warranted. I mean, that was excessive, and there's no room for that in the game. But why did Isaiah do that? Did he really just do that out of nowhere? The answer is no. You see, on the play earlier, Patrick Beverley literally threw an elbow that the refs missed.
Right there, boom. I told you it was probably something else that had happened.
That was really what started it all. But guess what? Pat Bev got off scot-free. Here's another look. All we see in this play is Luka shoving Colin Sexton, which eventually got him ejected. But upon replay, Sexton first comes in and literally digs an elbow into Luka to shove him off. That hurts, and Sexton knows it, but the refs miss it, and all they see is Luka retaliating. The end result was Sexton getting off scot-free, while Luka got ejected. See what I'm talking about? Occurrences like this happen hundreds of times per year, and the players know it. I even remember hearing at one time, I think it was either Gilbert Arenas or Paul Pierce saying that they call this the game within the game, also known as imperfect refereeing. Some players know the blind spots of the refs, they know what type of illegal stuff they can get away with, and that's really what is causing the Draymond Green problem. If NBA players knew that in addition to the 3 refs on the floor, that there were additional refs looking from above that were keying in on all the little elbows, the grabbing of jerseys, the holding of ankles, etc., it would create an environment where players don't feel like they have to go out and protect themselves. I mean, if Draymond knew that when Sabonis grabbed his ankle, that Sabonis would eventually get called for that, perhaps Draymond doesn't throw the hammer down. If Draymond knew that when Nurkic was holding his jersey, that Nurkic would eventually get called for that, perhaps Draymond doesn't do a 360. If Nikola Jokic knew that Markieff Morris would have gotten a tech for that elbow, he would have, he probably would have still retaliated. Morris deserved that. All jokes aside, Draymond keeps overreacting and taking things over the top, and deserves the punishments. But with all the cameras and manpower that the NBA has, why can't they implement something like this to prevent NBA players from going over the top? Imperfect refereeing is ruining the game. I mean, look, Draymond's going to go do his counseling, he's going to forfeit money, but what is he supposed to do when he gets back and someone throws an elbow that the refs don't see? That's really where the issues lie. I mean, imagine you're playing in a game where someone is able to get off all these small little illegal cheap shots on you and the refs don't notice. How are you going to feel? Some may say that's the game within the game, but the way the league is going, that doesn't reflect well for basketball either. On a side note, one thing I'm wondering is, why is this an indefinite suspension versus just a 10 or 15 game suspension? Because the truth is, despite how quote-unquote bad these looked, Draymond didn't really do any serious damage. LeBron got up and played, Sabonis got up and played, Gobert got up and played, and Nurkic got up and played. Poole is a different story though. Meta World Peace, on the other hand, literally knocked James Harden into a concussion with an elbow to the head. World Peace was also a repeat offender, but was only hit with 7 games, while Draymond was hit with an indefinite suspension? Anyway, I agree, Draymond needs to be suspended for his actions. But the truth is, if the league truly wants to fix the Draymond issue, something needs to change in the system of how games are being officiated.